Hey everyone, Barry here. So, if you are a good follower of this channel, you'll know that I feature a lot of AI music technology, and two big products that you may be aware of are SUNO and UDIO. Now, the major labels are considering a big lawsuit against these two AI firms for unlicensed training and training their AI models. Now, as I said from the very beginning of starting featuring these two products is where did they get their music from? Where did they train their AI models? I love these two products, don't get me wrong. However, they do appear to be, illegitimate in terms of utilizing copyrighted material. But obviously, I'm not a lawyer, but I did want to discuss this because this has just come out on Billboard a few days ago, and you've got the big record labels here joining forces, which is very unusual because they're normally against each other's throats, aren't they? But of course, they've decided to potentially join up so that there's a huge lawsuit rather than each individual record label trying to sue SUNO and UDIO. So it says UMG, WMG, Warner Music Group, Universal, and Sony are said to be considering a lawsuit against two of the most dominant AI startups in music. That's according to sources with Billboard. So let me just get rid of these ads because these ads drive me insane, guys. So I've got text on here. Ow, my eyes. Ow. Okay, so on here, is that it? Oh yeah, you got to subscribe. Thanks, Billboard. Okay, let's try Gear News then. Thank you for that. Um, so yeah, so these a lot of YouTubers and musicians have been experimenting with UDO and Suno, and what they have noticed is occasionally you will come across vocalists that are very, very, very similar to famous musicians, and the only way that that seems possible is the fact that they may have scraped music from, I don't know, YouTube or maybe Spotify or something amongst those lines, saying that that they're accessible and fair use. And they are basically saying, this is fair use. We've trained our models, and this is what's happening. But these three record labels are obviously considering this. The difficulty is going to be is proving it, even if the output's similar, proving it, because like I don't know, you could come up with a Michael Jackson. It's not going to be exactly the same as Michael Jackson, but it'll be very, very similar. Now, whether that's enough to sue these two companies, we'll just have to wait and see on that. In terms of timeframes as well, we don't have any details on that either. But that's what the biggest concern is regarding this: is have they used copyrighted music to train their AI models to then make money from it via tokens, via subscription services? Because that would be illegal, right? Um, so yeah, it's going to be a very interesting one. It says why this offence should be taken to court is clear. Um, that's the only way really is to take these companies down is to fight this and to prove that that's what they're doing and that it's completely illegal. Whether they have to do this as one country or kind of worldwide, I'm not sure. Again, this is lawsuit stuff, but yeah, it's been a big issue. I mean, if you think about technology, we had synthesizers right in the 80s, and we had sampling in the 90s. People are saying this is something completely different. Like the computer is doing it itself, basically. Now, that doesn't always mean that the output is perfect and it's going to be a song for release. In fact, interestingly, this week I did come across an artist on Facebook that had managed to generate a song via, I think it was UDIO, and actually release it. And Spotify had approached them and said, "We'd like to include your track on this editorial playlist." And so, yeah, it's a lot of the music generated isn't always clear that it's AI music generated, and I think people will be having successes going forward, whether it's in the charts, whether it's on famous playlists, because particularly UDIO, it's a lot harder to tell that it's AI music generated. If you're a musician, you probably can tell. Like, we can tell by the lyrics sometimes. We can tell by the style of the vocals, a few quirks here and there that makes it sound really generated. We also had auto tune, didn't we? With Cher. Do you believe in life after love? But that didn't. That was huge at the time. Actually, I remember Ellen DeGeneres had that on her show, and it was really funny. Sorry, I'm trying not to laugh because my laptop is on my lap, literally. So whenever I laugh, it just moves up and down. Apologies. But yeah, so we've had a lot of amazing technology, and this for me is amazing technology, but there's a lot of musicians that absolutely hate this stuff because it's a threat. This is probably the biggest threats in sampling, guys. And this is the issue, isn't it? So it says a lawsuit is being considered against two well established companies in the generative AI music space. While many competitors focus on generating music, lyric, or vocals, SUNO or UDIO allow users to generate all three elements at the touch of a button. Various music magazines have suggested the lawsuit could be filed as early as next week. We've asked the three major record labels, SUNO and UDIO, for comments but haven't heard back yet. It's going to be interesting if this is done very, very soon. If this is done as early as next week in terms of being filed in the US, they must have really good evidence then, mustn't they? Is it just the fact that Suno and UGO haven't purchased licenses and that's credible enough? The fact that they can prove that it was trained on their music? Interesting. Why are these record companies doing this? Why do you think? Well, it was recently announced that one of the huge ones, I think it was UMG, has literally trained their own AI model and they want their signed musicians to be able to utilize that as a service. So they want to officialize it, basically. That's what they want to try and do. They want to get money from their own AI generated models. And they know that Suno and Ugio, it's a bit of a threat for them. So it says these record labels, including UMG, have already taken legal action against Anthropic, which is an AI company, for allegedly using copyrighted material to train its AI models. However, that case only revolved around lyrics, which are legally similar to written material. This new lawsuit focuses on music and sound. Now, Suno and Ugio were the first proper two AI music companies to actually generate vocals on top of music, and that's why they stood out. That's why they grew so quickly, was because you were getting drums, you were getting the arrangement, you were getting vocals from lyrics, and that could be AI generated lyrics. It could also be your own lyrics as well. So talks about the threat to copyright here. So just a few months after UGO was launched, a user from UDIO had already created an AI generated hit song called BBL Drizzy. It was created by a comedian and went viral. And this is the thing, right? Some of these songs will go viral. There's a lot of silly songs out there that are like, I pooed my pants, that kind of thing, which are really, really funny. And a lot of people like those because there's a big sense of humor in them. And it's showing that something so silly can actually be made into a pretty cool song. Um, but as a musician myself, I have been using those tools to generate some of my own music, and by all means, yeah, I have to extract, I have to change, I have to cut, I have to change vocals, lyric, or whatever you. But it is possible to generate music with a couple of clicks, whereas before it really, really wasn't. It talked about the fact that the song later gained further publicity when it was actually resampled by Drake and Sexy Red, making it the first case of sampling an AI generated song in a major hit. Technology sure has come a long way. I mean, I remember making music in like the 2000s, and I literally had two tracks on the left and two tracks on the right. If I wanted drums to equalize, I had to put them on two channels, which, we've come such a long way. This stuff's huge. I mean, some of the AI music tools that I've featured on this channel, please subscribe if you haven't already and you're interested in them. There's some incredible tools out there. There's literally one just come out which is free, and it allows you to um, get a character from, say, Midjourney, an image. You upload that image, you upload the vocals, and it'll literally look like it's singing with emotion and everything. So it's really cool what this AI technology is doing, but I do feel it has to be legitimate. It has to be within law, and there's a lot of cases where this law just hasn't been invented yet because these are AI computer models generating things, whereas before they always had a human element, and you can only copyright things if they've got a human element in most cases. So it's been a really interesting one. I mean, there are going to be a lot of lawsuits coming up. So if you are a user of Suno and UDIO, this is a warning, guys. Literally, get those songs saved just in case, right? Always have a backup. Don't rely on the product staying there forever, because that's not going to be the case potentially if these record labels win. It says Suno has become quite the success story since founding, only in December 2023. In May, the company announced it had received $125 million in funding from big name investors, including Lightspeed venture partners Nat Friedman and Daniel Gross. However, most people in the music industry have criticized both companies. They say that their generative models have been trained on lots of copyrighted material, including big name hits, without getting permission payment, licenses, or attribution to the rights holders. And that's the biggest issue. Now, interestingly, Suno and UDIO have declined to comment on whether they have trained their AI on copyrighted songs. If you look at their websites, you will not find it. There's no explanation about that. And UDIO co-founders told Billboard magazine that they simply train on good music. Good music, really. That's interesting, isn't it? Now, this talks about whether it's a blessing or a curse. It really is split down the middle, whether if you're a musician, whether you like this stuff. There's a lot of comments about this. This is a huge topic, and I know that when I launch a video with updates or whatever, and I get so many views and so many comments, and some people are on the complete left fence and other people are on the complete right fence, and it really is quite interesting. I'm trying not to get arguments on my comments, um, but it's proving a challenge, right? I mean, I do approve every comment anyway on my channel just to make sure. Now, there was a recent article in Rolling Stone magazine. This investor, Antonio, said that Suno doesn't own any licenses for the music used to train the AI. Then why would you invest in it then? Where's the common sense? It's just a money making tool, isn't it? That's what these investors want. They just want their return. Whether it's legitimate or not, that's really bad. He also stated that this didn't worry him, as it was the risk they wanted to take when they invested in the company. Unbelievable. There are also articles from Music Business Worldwide, which I love that website. Ed, the founder of AI Security Organization, illustrated that he could generate music from Suno and UDIO that bears a striking resemblance to copyrighted music. Now, I haven't come across that myself, but I have had a lot of famous vocalists. I've had Pet Shop Boys, I've had Annie Lennox. Now, interestingly, when I go back to those services and try and play those, they've gone, they've disappeared. I wonder why. Why has that happened? I wonder, because they're trying to strip any evidence of this. But what they probably don't realise is that people can screen record. This is a screen recording right here. Basically saying, this striking resemblance applies to melody, chords, style, and lyrics. However, both companies say that users can't copy artist styles. Artists' names are blocked when you use these tools. They say that, but there was that website, wasn't there, that I featured on the channel? Was it get your review your music or something, where you could copy the tags of a famous song, put that into one of the services, and then literally you'll get a very, very similar style. And I imagine that's what that Ed did. Now, if the lawsuit goes ahead, which I think it will, I wouldn't have thought it'll be so soon as next week, but it could be. It'll be about whether unlicensed materials to train AI models is infringement on copyright. And it's going to be the biggest obstacle for the AI industry, as their models, whether this is graphics, music, or film, this is huge. There's hundreds, maybe thousands of AI tech companies now doing this. Would likely output far worse audio. Of course it would, for quality, if they excluded the training data from copyrighted protected material. This is why Suno and UDIO are so amazing compared to all of their competitors. Numerous similar lawsuits have been filed recently in other sectors over unlicensed training. AI is affecting every single industry. I have been amazed how quickly it's affecting us in the music industry. I mean, this is really revolutionary, what it's doing. And many AI companies say that such training is protected by the fair use. a law that allows people to reuse protected works. Although fair use was historically allowed, like things like news reporting, AI companies still say it can be applied equally to using millions of works of art to create a new model that spits out entirely new creations. It is an argument, and it is going to be a very interesting lawsuit. The argument will likely be the central issue in any lawsuit over AI training. Some AI companies like VoiceSwap, now I've used VoiceSwap, take a more ethical approach to AI training by working directly with companies and rights holders to license their copyrights or enter into official partnerships. These are all very new startups. It's really worth saying. Now, I've used VoiceSwap and it was quite buggy for me. So the whole point of VoiceSwap was if an artist's on there that you really like, that's quite famous, you can upload your music, and the AI model on VoiceSwap will actually change the vocals into the famous artist's vocals. And the idea is that you can then pay a license to that famous artist to be able to release that. Um, Now, unfortunately, at the moment, I don't know whether it's changed. Unfortunately, you can't use their name. So it creates an AI generated vocal of their vocals, of their voice, and then you can put that on top of your music with a license, and you pay for that license, but then you can't use their name. Now, for me, it was really buggy at the time. It was quite frustrating because I couldn't see the contract that was coming through. The artist couldn't see the contract, but that might have improved. But it's nice to see that some AI companies are actually trying to do it ethically. I can hardly say it. It is Sunday morning, guys. It says here, but there might be another way. So far, the major labels have already set up these partnerships with AI companies. Oh, what a surprise! They're just out to make more money, aren't they? UMG and WMG have worked with YouTube on the AI voice experiment Dream Track. Sony has teamed up with Vermilion for a remix project for The Orb and David Gilmer. WMG has worked with the estate of Edith to recreate her voice using AI for an upcoming biopic. More recently, UMG has teamed up with Sound Labs to allow their artists to create their own AI voice models for personal use in the studio for the upcoming vocal effect mic drop. I've got a thing against record labels. I understand the purpose of record label. I'm signed to an amazing record label. They're independent and they've been amazing. I'm talking about the big guys, right? The really conglomerate record companies. Um, yeah, I recently saw a little clip with Boy George from Culture Club, and interestingly, he is unable to utilize Come a Chameleon from the 80s, his most famous track that Culture Club did, because of copyrighted. He doesn't own the song, even though he made the song. He might have signed it. I don't know. All dodgy deals were done in those days. There still are. So he's trying to use AI models to recreate the song based on the 80s genre to be able to own a new version of that track. So I thought that was really cool, a bit like Taylor Swift kind of thing, where you don't own all of your music, trying to take that back and recreate it. I've seen a lot of artists have to do that. Like Frank Music is quite a small independent artist, and his first album went global. Like he did really well. He was signed, but then he lost all of his rights to that music. So he's actually recreated that album on new sample. He's a very talented guy, Frank Music, and he's had to completely recreate it. So it's amazing that, well, he wasn't using AI, to be fair, but he could have done. So it's interesting that artists do want to use AI, but for legitimate purposes, and I completely understand that. Should we embrace AI technology or not? I mean, from my point of view, we can't get rid of it now. The box has opened. Like, we can't hide this stuff. Um, for me, I think it's an incredible tool. As a brand, as Cyber Monday, my synth pop, synthwave music, I have been releasing some AI content, and I have had to be quite wary of how I release it. Like, for example, I've released an album or two on Bandcamp, which I love. I love Bandcamp. I've released one song on DSPs, only one song, because I'm just very wary that, like, if there are issues, that I need to be able to have control of taking stuff down. So it's something to be aware of if you are a music producer and you love AI music as I do. Just be very wary of having control about what you release. Um, so yeah, quite a few colleagues have been using AI as a creative tool, similar to a computer introduced as an important studio tool around 25 years ago. And that's what I was talking about, my 4 tracks on my Amiga. And that's all I had. That's all I had to use. And I made some incredible dance music back then. Copyright should and must remain in place and of course be defended. What do you think of new developments in AI and art? Is training compared to the well-known sampling? It is similar, but I just think AI music is so much more powerful. So, so there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you give it a like. Let me know what you think in the comments. Love to hear from you all, and I'll speak to you on the next one. Take care. Bye.